Again then guys, and welcome to another installment of Dirtmasters Unplugged, the series, for those who are unfamiliar with it, where we take a vehicle, not necessarily just an all-wheel drive vehicle, but some front-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive cars, and then we make that vehicle into a rally car, essentially. It could be a vehicle that doesn't have a rallying counterpart on the game, or it may have one, but we just give it an alternative to that. Maybe a rally base model or a rallycross vehicle or a Pikes Peak car that it doesn't already have a variant of. Now this particular vehicle of course does not have a rally car. I would personally love to see a Gran Turismo original racing version of this car, the Alfa Romeo 8C. I can imagine it with that kind of racing body kit, and I think it would look absolutely fantastic. For now though, that's not an option, and so we've kind of gone down a bit of a strange route for a car like this and turned it into a rally car. Not an obvious choice of rally car, but somehow a very cool one nonetheless. Now the vehicle which I've turned it into is essentially a Pikes Peak machine to some degree, and so as far as the visuals, obviously you've got a lot of personal variation to go with. I've fitted it with the optional body kit, which of course adds the winglets and the chin splitter. I've fitted it with a large custom rear wing, which as you can see I've colour-coded to the body, and I've also fitted it with, I opted for a blank race number plate, or the race plates on the doors, bonnet, etc. But of course you could add a number if you wanted to. As far as the colour that I've gone for, it's called Mark IV Red, and it comes from the Mark IV Ford GT40, but I've found out recently that you can actually get a red which is essentially exactly the same, that's a lot cheaper, and it's called Magma Rot, and it's from Mercedes, and it looks pretty much exactly the same as this red, and you can get that from a number of different Mercedes models. So as far as the visuals, that about covers it. So we'll go over first of all to the mechanical tuning garage, and then take this Super Sports exotic out on the dirt to see what exactly it's capable of. Now, as I often say, of course, with these rally builds, PP doesn't really matter as much usually, but I do like to round them off to a PP level if at all possible. Now this particular model is of course completely fictional, so you've got loads and loads of room for personal variation. I've opted for dirt tyres, of course, because that's the track that we're going to go on. As far as suspension, I've got the ride height on 120 front and rear, springs on 8 front and rear, the dampers to 3, anti-roll I've increased a little to 4 front and rear, camber and tow I've got neutral, perhaps surprisingly for a rear-wheel drive rally car. As far as the diff, I've gone for halfway on initial torque, low as possible for acceleration and braking. As far as power, I opted to round it off to 600 horsepower, which is obviously nowhere near as high as it can be, and to do that I've given an oil change plus a stage 3 engine tune, sports computer, manifold, cat, and intake tuning, so everything but the exhaust, and then reduced the power down to 600 horsepower. And as far as the weight, I've given it the full weight loss package, added 12 kilos of ballast to round off the weight, and also put that to the front of the car to improve the weight distribution. Incidentally, that also brings you to 560 pp quite nicely. And finally, for the gearbox, I've got an auto setting of 149 with, as you can see, individual gears of 4, 2.8, 2.1, 1650, 1350 and 1150, and a final drive of 4. So overall, you've got, as I said, tons of room for personal variation and customization due to your personal driving style and preferences. But now let's finally take it out on the dirt to see how this car can actually perform as a rally vehicle. Now, of course, ideally, drivetrain conversions on this game would be awesome, like you can do on some other games like Forza. An all-wheel drive Alfa Romeo 8C would be pretty awesome, to say the least, as a rally car. It would get so much more of that power down more effectively to the dirt or snow. As it happens though, that's not currently an option of course on Gran Turismo, and I have to say, for a rear-wheel drive vehicle that was pretty much never intended to go off the tarmac, it handles itself remarkably well as a rally vehicle. But of course, first and foremost, a vehicle like this is always about the novelty and the fun of using it as a rally car. It's not necessarily the best choice of rally car, and certainly not the fastest, but it's just so fun to use a vehicle that's not really designed for this and kind of break physics to some degree. It's fun to use, and it is pretty quick, although it can be beaten, of course, by an all-wheel drive machine. Overall, if you do decide to use this build, obviously I hope you find it fun, potentially competitive, though that's not really what it's designed for. And if you'd like to keep up with other builds like this, of course, feel free to slap subscribe down below, or also click through to the other playlists at the end of this video. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.